This story takes place in a special school where students are required to live together like married couples for a few months. Each pair is given their own room where they must act as husband and wife, sharing daily life experiences. The purpose of this experiment is to help students not only study academics but also understand real-life relationships and responsibilities. However, there's a twist. If a couple fails this marriage practical, they're considered to have failed all their exams too. The story begins with Jirou Yakuin and Akari Watanabe, who are classmates. Before this, Jirou's childhood friend Shiori Sakurazaka goes to a temple to make a wish. Akari happens to see her there, but feels embarrassed and runs away. Shiori makes her wish and quietly leaves. Back at school, Jirou and his friend Kamo are chatting about video games. During their talk, we find out that Jirou actually has a crush on Shiori. Just then, Akari and her friend show up and start yelling at Jirou and Kamo for blocking the stairs. But when Akari's crush Minami passes by, her behavior instantly changes. She becomes all sweet and friendly. Later that day, everyone gathers for the partner announcement ceremony, the moment when each student learns who they'll be paired with for this marriage training program. Whoever they're matched with will become their spouse for the next few months. The school calls it a marriage practical experiment designed to prepare students for the real world. Before the announcement, Shiori wishes Jirou good luck and hopes he gets a nice partner, though deep down, Jirou secretly hopes to be paired with her. Meanwhile, Shiori also wishes to be paired with someone she knows and feels comfortable with. Then, the teacher explains the rules. Each student will be paired with someone of the opposite sex. They'll live together in a private room, and their performance as a couple will determine their final grades for the year. Unfortunately, Jirou's luck runs out. Instead of being paired with Shiori, he's matched with Akari. And to make things even worse for him, Shiori is paired with Minami, the guy Akari likes. Akari gets angry about the pairing and starts scolding Jirou for having no experience with girls. Their constant arguing immediately drops their score to -3 points. That's when Akari tells Jirou about her secret plan. According to the rule book, if a couple's ranking improves, they actually get a chance to switch partners, and their new partner even keeps their previous score. Hearing this, Jirou feels awkward, because the only way to raise their rank is to act more romantic with Akari, something that completely embarrasses him. But Akari isn't the type to give up easily. She starts getting close to Jirou, trying to tease and attract him so their score goes up. And surprisingly, it worked. Their points start to rise. Even then, Jirou isn't really into it. Feeling uncomfortable, he heads out to grab a drink. But there, he spots Shiori and Minami walking together, laughing and talking. He even overhears Shiori saying how happy she is to be paired with Minami. That moment hits Jirou hard. He feels angry, jealous, and heartbroken all at once. He returns to his room and sits there quietly, lost in his thoughts. Akari notices and tries to cheer him up, but Jirou can't help thinking that if Akari were his real girlfriend, she wouldn't want to see him sad either. Eventually, Jirou agrees to give Akari's plan another try. Just then, his friend Kamo comes to pick him up. Before Jirou leaves, Akari suddenly tells him, "Kiss me before you go." Kamo keeps ringing the doorbell non-stop, and in the rush, Jirou panics, but ends up kissing Akari right on the lips before running out the door. After he leaves, Akari turns bright red. She didn't expect him to actually kiss her on the lip. On the other hand, Jirou is totally shocked and flustered, but guess what? Their score shoots back up to 0. Later that night, Jirou dreams of Shiori waking him up with a kiss, but in reality, it's Akari yelling at him for not helping with chores. A week passes. Every morning, Jirou watches Shiori and Minami walk to school together, looking closer than ever. The teacher calls Jirou and Akari after class for a meeting. Jirou grows more depressed, hoping Shiori might notice his sadness, but she doesn't even look his way. When school ends, Jirou tells Akari that the teacher wants to see them, but Akari refuses. She already has plans with her friends and Minami. During the meeting, the teacher warns Jirou that their score has dropped badly this week, and if things don't improve, they'll be in serious trouble. Later, while waiting for the rain to stop, Shiori sits next to Jirou. She forgot her umbrella too. Suddenly, she hugs him tightly, and Jirou freezes in surprise. surprised. But it turns out she just saw a bug drawing on the glass and thought it was real. That's when Jirou realizes why Shiori had grabbed Minami's hand earlier that morning. It wasn't romantic, just a misunderstanding. Shiori then shyly asked Jirou to call her by her first name, like he used to when they were kids. But before he can say it, Minami arrives with an umbrella to pick her up. Jirou tells her to go with Minami and stays behind to wait for the rain to stop. Outside, Akari is also waiting with an umbrella. They walk home together, and noticing Jirou's sadness, Akari encourages him not to give up. Back in their room, Akari cooks a delicious omelet to help raise their score. Jirou offers her a bite, and she playfully eats it straight from his spoon. The two get close and are just about to kiss when Jirou's phone suddenly rings. Both of them pull away, hearts racing, completely confused by their feelings. The next night, Akari wakes Jirou up in the middle of his dream, where he was kissing Shiori again, and tells him to stay up with her because she doesn't want to watch a horror movie alone. Akari invites Jirou to watch a horror movie with her at night. Jirou's confused. She's clearly scared, so why would she even want to watch one? Akari explains that according to the rule book, watching a scary movie together helps increase their couple's score, since it's supposed to bring partners emotionally closer. Halfway through the movie, Akari gets really terrified, so Jirou turns off the TV. Then Akari gives him a pair of matching pajamas she bought for them. Before Jirou can even react, Akari starts changing her clothes right in front of him and tells him to turn around. Suddenly, the lights go out. Akari panics and grabs Jirou tightly in fear. His brain completely freezes. His system crashes like a computer under pressure. Trying to stay calm, Jirou focuses on comforting her instead. He turns on his phone flashlight to make a little light, but Akari tells him not to look at her since she's crying. She asks him to sit beside her and tell her a story to calm her down. Jirou starts narrating a ghost story, but it just ends up scaring her even more. To relax, Akari lights a scented candle that her friend Natsumi gave her and slowly drifts off to sleep. Looking at her peaceful face, Jirou quietly hugs her and whispers, "She's so cute." Then he suddenly realizes what he just said and gets embarrassed himself. A week later, the results are out, and their score has jumped from an E rank to a B rank. Akari tells Jirou that Shiori and Minami got an E grade, which is really bad, because if they want to switch partners, they'll need to find someone ranked A or higher, and right now, that seems impossible. At school, Shiori tells her friend Mei that she's not comfortable with Minami. She says she wishes she had been paired with someone she already knew, because she finds it hard to open up to new people. That's the reason their score is so low. Meanwhile, Jirou catches a cold and stays home. Akari tells him she's going out with her friends to a cafe and will be back late. Jirou feels a little sad. He was hoping Akari would take care of him while he's sick, but to his surprise, Shiori shows up at his house to take care of him. She says Akari told her he wasn't feeling well and that she wanted to repay him because when they were kids, Jirou once took care of her when she was sick. Jirou thanks Akari silently in his heart and lets Shiori look after him. She cooks him some porridge to help him feel better. While eating, Jirou remembers the last time he saw her, how he regretted not confessing his feelings back then. Shiori brings the food, and Jirou starts eating right away, not realizing that she had planned to feed him herself because he was sick. When he finds out, he instantly feels embarrassed. Later, when Jirou asks about her bad grades, Shiori admits she's just not comfortable with Minami, and says that if Jirou had been her partner, she would have been much happier. Jirou tries to cheer her up but fails miserably, hides under his blanket, and pretends to sleep. Before leaving, Shiori washes the dishes and notices he's already asleep. She bends down to kiss him on the forehead, but stops at the last second and quietly walks away. That night, Akari gets a call from her friend, warning her that letting Shiori spend time with Jirou could be dangerous because Shiori might fall for him and try to steal him away from her. Meanwhile, Shiori remembers the time she was about to transfer schools, how she tried to confess her feelings to Jirou back then, but he only ever saw her as a friend. The next morning, Jirou thanks Akari for sending Shiori to take care of him and promises to help Shiori and Minami get closer. Surprisingly, Akari doesn't feel as happy hearing that as she thought she would. Later, Akari cooks for Jirou and jokingly asks, "So does Shiori even know how to cook?" Jirou laughs and teases her back, saying he doesn't think Akari's the only cooking type either. In reality, though, Akari made the meal hoping to impress Minami with her cooking someday. As they sit together, Jirou takes a bite of the food and Jirou takes a bite of the dish Akari made, and their couple score score increases again. He tries another dish and says it would taste even better if it were a little sweeter. Akari quickly replies that it's not for him. It's actually for Minami, and she only wanted Jirou to taste test it. The next day, Jirou's friend Kamo sees the fancy lunchbox Akari packed and gets jealous. His own partner can't cook that well, and here's Jirou, living with one of the most popular and hottest girls in school. While they're talking, Akari suddenly shows up and asks Jirou to compliment her cooking. Instead, Jirou brings up the omelet from before, and the two start arguing again, like a married couple bickering over nothing. Kamo just sits beside them, sighs, and says he feels like an old man watching newlyweds fight. The next morning, Akari prepares the final lunchbox for Minami and lets Jirou taste a rolled omelet. Jirou realizes it's still not sweet and feels hurt inside because she's putting in all this effort for someone else she'd like. When Akari gets dressed up in a cute outfit, Jirou realizes she's never dressed that nicely when she's around him. Feeling nervous about meeting Minami, Akari asks Jirou to kiss her for courage, saying that the last time he kissed her, she felt calm and confident. Jirou is completely shocked, but before he can kiss her, the doorbell rings. It's Shiori, holding an apple pie she baked for them. She casually mentions that she's been cooking for Minami lately, and that he likes sweet food. Hearing that, Akari's mood drops instantly. She decides not to give Minami the lunchbox anymore. Meanwhile, Shiori secretly hopes Jirou will like her homemade pie. Seeing Akari upset, Jirou tries to comfort her, saying she has many other amazing qualities besides cooking, things that could easily win Minami's heart. But Akari still looks down, so Jirou awkwardly starts complimenting her figure to boost her confidence. Then, in a moment of pure panic and embarrassment, he blurts out, "Honestly, I could even sleep with you." As soon as the words leave his mouth, Jirou realizes what he said, but it's too late. Akari pushes him onto the sofa, sits on top of him, and teases, "Oh really? Have you ever thought about getting that close to me?" Jirou gets lost in the moment for a second, but then catches himself and says, "You should only get that close to someone you truly love." He reminds her that she has Minami, and she fires back saying he is Shiori. After that, Akari decides to end their fake relationship for good. Days pass. Akari spends most of her time with friends or locked in her room, while Jirou just plays video games all day. Naturally, their couple score drops badly. When the next week's results are announced, Minami and Shiori rank A, while Jirou and Akari fall all the way to E rank. Kamo asks Jirou what happened between them. Just then, Shiori walks in and asks to talk to Jirou alone. They go to the rooftop, where Shiori tries to cheer him up. After their talk, Jirou returns home and decides to speak with Akari. He apologizes for that night and admits that yes, he did have fantasies about her, because in the end, he's still just a guy. But he stopped himself because he didn't want Akari to regret anything later. Jirou says he wants things to go back to how they were before, just like a married couple again. Akari laughs at his honesty and agrees to give it another try. That night, she stands out on the balcony, blushing, remembering how she casually told Jirou earlier, "I really love you." During PE class, Akari and her friends chat about partner rank. Jirou gets jealous when he sees both Akari and Shiori staring at Minami playing basketball. To make things worse, Kamo tells Jirou that Minami said he'll never switch partners, meaning Shiori and Minami might actually stay together for good. Even Akari's friend Saki tells her the same thing, leaving Akari wondering what's going to happen next. This story takes a turn when rumors start flying around. Camus teases Jirou, saying maybe in the end, Minami and Shiori will actually get married for real. Jirou imagines a whole scene in his head. He's fighting Minami, who somehow managed to steal both Shiori and Akari from him. After school, Shiori talks to Jirou and tells him she doesn't want to switch partners until he earns an A grade too. Just as Jirou is about to confess something, Camus suddenly shows up and blurts out that he saw Akari and Minami kissing. Here's what actually happened. During a class activity, Akari got distracted talking and was sent to the storage room as punishment. While she was organizing things, a box nearly fell on her, but Minami caught her just in time. Her heart starts racing when he's close, and she realizes how nervous he makes her feel. Akari asks Minami if he really wants to stay with Shiori forever, and he says yes. That breaks her heart. She starts crying, but when Minami sees her tears, she quickly lies and says something just got in her eye. As he leans in to help, Camus sees them and totally misunderstands the situation. Later, Minami and Akari overhear Camus gossiping about what he saw with Jirou, and even Shiori is nearby, but no one can really explain the truth. Minami walks away with Shiori, and Akari just silently leaves too. At school the next day, Camus is telling everyone about the storage room incident, and poor Jirou's heart completely breaks. Even though he tries to act like he doesn't care, he's clearly jealous and hurt. When Jirou gets home, he sarcastically congratulates Akari for kissing Minami. She laughs and explains what really happened. Jirou feels embarrassed for being jealous over nothing. Akari teases him back, but soon she starts crying again, still hurt by Minami's words about never changing partners. Seeing her like that, Jirou hugs her tightly and comforts her. Akari bursts into tears in his arms. That night, Jirou can't stop thinking about it. He feels guilty for hugging her, afraid she didn't like it. But Akari's behavior completely changes. She starts calling him by his first name, wears his t-shirt after a shower, and even sits close to him. Then she admits something huge. Her first kiss was with Jirou, and she's still a virgin. Jirou is shocked, but also secretly happy to know this. The next morning, Jirou leaves early for school because it's his turn for class duty. Akari walks him out, fixes his tie, and gives him a warm hug before he leaves. Jirou realizes he wants her to do these things from the heart, not just because of their married couple experiment. At school, he finds out that Shiori is also on duty that day, filling in for her friend Mai. Jirou feels happy that, at least for once, he gets to work alongside her. Meanwhile, at the cafe, Akari's friends tease her for falling in love with Jirou. Back in class, Jirou struggles to talk naturally with Shiori. He doesn't even know what to say. Akari spots them together and notices how genuinely happy Jirou looks around Shiori. Shiori almost confesses her feelings, but steps back at the last moment. Jirou regrets not being able to say what's in his heart. That night, Jirou stands on the balcony, lost in thought. Akari shows up with 2 cups of warm milk. She teases him, saying he still didn't do anything even when he got a chance to be alone with Shiori. Jirou tries to change the subject and starts talking about Minami, but Akari suddenly asks him to call her by her first name. She points out that he can say Shiori's name so easily, so why not hers? When she's his wife in this experiment, Jirou blushes and says it just feels different. Jirou gets a little annoyed, but still doesn't give in. Akari tells him that whenever someone calls her by her first name, she feels empowered, because her name actually means a shining star in the sky. Jirou tries calling her by her first name and says that it really suits her. Hearing that, Akari blushes and tells him he should keep calling her that, because whenever she calls him by his first name, it feels like she's the only one who truly loves him. Jirou takes a while to process what she just said, but before he can respond, Akari quietly goes back to her room. Jirou assumes she just slipped up, because there's no way she could really be falling for him, right? Meanwhile, Akari can't stop thinking about what she said to him. The next day, their teacher announces a special test. Their scores will be combined with their partners. If one fails, both will have to take extra classes. Jirou starts to worry since his grades aren't great in some subject. He realizes he's never even seen Akari study, and he's right. She has no interest in books. She just wants to hang out with her friends. Jirou convinces her to cancel her plans and stay home to study. At first, Akari refuses, but eventually she gives in. Jirou tries to help her focus, but it's not as easy as he thought. Akari keeps sitting close to him, flirting non-stop. Jirou somehow keeps his cool and tells her to stay focused. Slowly, Akari actually starts enjoying solving math problems, but now Jirou is the one getting flustered. Then, out of nowhere, Akari sits on Jirou's lap and starts teasing him, trying to get him to admit that his heart races whenever she gets close. Things heat up quickly. Jirou lays Akari down on the couch, and just as they're about to kiss, Akari notices Jirou's nose is bleeding. Later, Jirou tells her he doesn't want their relationship to affect the experiment or make her lose her chance with Minami, but Akari, deep down, only wants to stay with Jirou. The next morning, Akari starts calling Jirou by his last name again, which bothers him, but he stays quiet. At school, Shiori's friend gets confessed to by another girl, but politely turns her down. At home, when Jirou is about to head to the bathroom, Akari suddenly walks in, without knocking, to tell him they've reached 8th place and might soon be able to switch partners. Her excitement quickly fades when she realizes Jirou doesn't have a shirt on after showering. As they talk, Jirou figures out why Akari's been using his last name, because he always calls her by hers. He finally says her first name, Akari, and surprisingly, it feels right. From that moment on, they start calling each other by their first names. In the courtyard, Shiori's friend Mai tells her to get closer to Jirou, since maybe Akari and Jirou have already become pretty close. Suddenly, a soccer ball hits Shiori in the head, and she faints. Later, Mai gives Jirou some sandwiches and water, asking him to check on Shiori in the nurse's room. Jirou visits her, and they start talking. Shiori shyly asks if he can help her practice kissing, since she's never kissed Minami before. Jirou hesitates but agrees. As they lean in and their lips touch, Shiori suddenly pulls back, because Akari's friend just walked in. She doesn't see their faces, but she clearly realizes a boy and girl are making out on the bed. After she leaves, Jirou realizes he accidentally kissed Shiori. Both of them blush like crazy, and Jirou rushes out of the room. Akari's friend later tells her she saw a boy and a girl doing something weird in the nurse's room, and Akari immediately assumes it was Jirou and Shiori. Heartbroken, she goes home and finds Jirou passed out on the couch. Turns out he ate some alcohol-filled chocolates by mistake. Seeing him there, Akari feels a mix of jealousy and sadness. She lies down beside him and falls asleep too. The next morning, when Jirou wakes up, Akari tells him they slept next to each other all night. She admits she only did it to confirm whether he and Shiori were getting too close, because now she's slowly starting to realize her own true feelings for him. That evening, Jirou helps Akari get ready for the school festival. She tells him that even if he's there, she'll still spend time with Minami. But surprisingly, Minami doesn't show up at all. What shocks her even more is that she doesn't really care. But later, when she sees Minami with Shiori, she can't help feeling hurt. Akari leaves the festival early and goes home. Jirou stands on his balcony, wondering, when they switch partners, will Akari just go back to being another classmate? Suddenly, his phone rings. It's Akari, crying outside his building. Jirou rushes out to meet her. She apologizes to him and to her friends for all the trouble she caused trying to get close to Minami. Finally, things between Jirou and Akari settle down. The two share a quiet, romantic moment together as they watch the festival fireworks from their balcony. The next day after school, they start preparing again for their next round of grades. When they checked their results, they found out their grade was still at level 13, while they needed to be within the top 10 to qualify for a partner switch. Seeing this, both Jirou and Akari got a little frustrated. Jirou went to take a shower, but Akari suddenly rushed in after him. She had seen a spider and got scared. However, when they both came out, the spider had completely disappeared. Curious, Jirou asked how big it was. Akari shyly replied, "It was actually really small." Since the spider hadn't shown up again, Akari made Jirou sit with her for a while. As they talked, Akari suddenly asked Jirou if he'd ever considered dating her for real. Jirou looked at her in surprise, and before he could say anything, Akari quickly laughed it off, saying, "I was just joking." But her words kept echoing in Zero's mind. What if she actually wasn't joking? Would they really date? Before he could answer, Akari suddenly noticed the spider again on the curtain. Zero decided to order an insect killer online, but Akari stopped him, saying she knew someone who could come and take care of it in a second if she just called them once. Meanwhile, Minami went to see Shiori, who had been unusually quiet lately. Shiori, using her friend as an example, told him that her friend accidentally kissed the person she liked. As she continued describing what happened, Minami got flustered and spilled tea on himself. Shiori then asked him for advice. What should her friend do? The guy she liked didn't even know if she liked him back. Minami immediately understood that Shiori was actually talking about herself. He calmly told her that her friend should try to understand the situation better and have more confidence in herself. Later that evening, Zero met Kamo at a cafe. They were chatting when Zero mentioned the bathroom incident, leaving Kamo completely shocked. Kamo accidentally got too close to Zero, seeing a glimpse of his girlfriend's face in him. Just then, Shiori passed by the cafe, and Zero noticed her. Worried she might misunderstand the situation, he ran outside to clear things up. After talking for a bit, they started acting normal again. Shiori's bag looked heavy, so Zero helped her carry it. She thanked him and talked about that day's incident, like she still wanted to stay friends. Shiori then leaned in, about to kiss him, but before their lips met met, two cats started fighting nearby, breaking the moment. Embarrassed, Shiori quickly left. The next day, their teacher announced that summer vacation was about to begin, and once it ended, they'd resume from where they left off. Jirou assumed Shiori would go visit her family during the break. During lunch, Kamo told Jirou that he'd applied for a part-time job and also submitted an application on Zirou's behalf. Jirou was shocked. He didn't want to work, he just wanted to stay home and play games. He wasn't even good at talking to people. Just then, Shiori walked by, picked up a flyer that had fallen, and said she and May had also applied for the same job. Kamo jumped at the chance and told her Jirou would be working there too. Hearing that, Shiori smiled, and Jirou had no choice but to agree. Later that evening, when Jirou came home, he saw Akari wearing a new swimsuit. She asked how it looked because she was planning to go to the beach. Jirou told her she shouldn't go alone, maybe take a friend. Akari smiled and explained she was actually going for a part-time job. Jirou mentioned he'd also gotten a part-time job, and that Shiori would be there too. Akari felt a little jealous and teasingly asked, "Will you miss me?" Then she asked how her swimsuit looked. Jirou blushed and said it was a bit small, but he liked it. Hearing that, Akari smirked and said, "Then I won't wear this at the beach. This swimsuit is just for you." When Jirou glanced at Akari's flyer, he realized they had accidentally applied for the same job. The next day, everyone arrived at the beach cafe where they'd be working. Shiori decided she had to do something this time. Minami acted as their guide, since the cafe belonged to the same company as the one he worked for. They were shown to their rooms and told to change into uniforms for their training. Once everyone gathered, Kamo's brother divided them into two groups, one for the kitchen and one for customer service. Jirou complimented Kamo's outfit, and Kamo proudly said his brother got it for him, though he was only there to check out cute girls. Shiori came over and asked Jirou which group he was in. When he said the kitchen, she immediately decided to join that group too. This way, she could be closer to him. Meanwhile, Minami was teaching Akari how to deal with customers. In the kitchen, Mei told Shiori this was her chance to show Jirou how cute she was. When Shiori struggled to reach something on a shelf, Mei told Jirou to help her. Jirou walked over and reached for the items, while Mei dragged Kamo away so he wouldn't ruin the moment. As Jirou was adding whipped cream to a shake, Shiori suddenly came close, and Jirou panicked, spilling cream everywhere. Jirou wipes the cream off his face, and just when Shiori is about to confess her feelings to him, Akari's friend suddenly walks in, startling Shiori, who yells out in surprise. Soon after, everyone changes into their swimsuits and heads to the beach. Jirou is completely stunned when he sees Akari's swimsuit. It reminds him of what she said earlier about saving it just for him. But Akari is wearing a different one, which confuses him even more. He quickly shakes off the thought, reminding himself that it's not something he should be thinking about. Everyone starts building sandcastles, and just like before, Shiori asks Jirou to hold her hand from inside the castle. Seeing this, Akari starts feeling a pang of jealousy. Later, everyone gets thirsty, so Jirou and Akari go together to buy drink. The shopkeeper mistakes them for a couple and compliments them, which makes Jirou awkwardly laugh. Akari scolds him, saying he should have responded more confidently, because if it were Minami in his place, he definitely would have said something cool. When it's Zirou's turn to order, two guys start harassing Akari from behind. Without thinking, Jirou steps up and says, "She's my wife. We're married." The two boys immediately apologize and walk away. Jirou turns to Akari and apologizes too, but Akari tells him that he really doesn't know how to act cool. Still, she admits that she'd like it if he kept talking to her that way from now on. Her cheeks turn red after saying that. Later that evening, the girls take a group bath and talk about the day. When Akari comes out, she sees Jirou sitting outside. He had gotten a sunburn on his neck, so Akari tells him to sit closer so she can put lotion on it. Jirou hesitates, thinking people might get the wrong idea if they saw them together. But then Akari hugs him from behind and says softly, "I miss spending time with you like this." Just then, another girl walks by, and Jirou instantly jumps away. Akari sighs and tells him she'll meet him again later that evening. That night, everyone notices that both Jirou and Akari are missing. which makes Shiori worried. She starts wondering if something might be going on between them. Meanwhile, Jirou apologizes to Akari without any real reason, which annoys her. She snaps, saying, "At least call me by my first name." Akari tells him she just wants him to act the same way he does when they're at home together. Jirou explains he's only trying so hard so she can spend more time with Minami. Then, they suddenly hear footsteps. Someone's coming. The two hide quickly. Turns out, it was Mei and Shiori, out on a walk. Mei thinks she heard something but finds no one there. At that moment, Akari's thoughts turn heavy. Even though she knows that Shiori likes Jirou, and she herself likes Minami, she can't deny that her heart still beats for Jirou. Meanwhile, Mei and Shiori get spooked by strange noises and rush back. The next morning, Jirou wakes up in a hospital bed. Apparently, he passed out the previous night. He apologizes again to Akari for troubling her. This time, Akari scolds him, saying she doesn't need his apologies. She just wants him to be himself around her, the way he used to be. Shiori, on the other hand, finds out that Jirou and Akari had been alone together at the beach that night. Hearing this, her insecurities flare up. She starts wondering if something really happened between them. Later, while brushing her teeth, Akari teasingly messes with Jirou again, and he actually feels relieved to see her acting like her normal self. That evening, Shiori tells Jirou about an upcoming couple contest at the cafe. Jirou says it'd be best if she teamed up with him, because he could protect her if anything went wrong. Hearing this, Shiori smiles and says she likes this gentleman side of him, then walks away. Right after that, Kamo shows up, having overheard everything. He grins and tells Jirou he can arrange for him and Shiori to be paired together, but it'll cost him. Since Kamo was the brother of the event organizer, it wouldn't be hard for him to pull off. That night, as planned, Kamo sneaks a look at the girls' name cards through Mei and switches them, pairing Minami with Akari and Jirou with Shiori. The contest begins, and everyone heads into the forest. Akari gets scared of a bug, and Minami holds her hand. He asks if it's okay for him to do that whenever she's scared. Akari says she doesn't mind, but deep down, she can't help thinking of Jirou. Soon after, Akari's phone goes missing, and everyone comes back out of the forest, except Akari and Minami. Kamo's brother gets a call from Minami saying they got separated while looking for the phone. Everyone rushes back into the woods to find them. Jirou runs in first, ignoring Shiori's calls for him to stop. Akari, meanwhile, is scolding herself for always relying on others. Jirou finds her phone and starts calling out her name, but Minami finds her first. Akari mistakes him for Jirou at first. Minami apologizes, and they wait under a small shelter until the rain stops. Minami informs Kamo's brother that Akari's safe, and Shiori relays the news to Jirou. Jirou feels relieved, but also a sting of jealousy knowing Minami was the one who found her, not him. Later, Minami apologizes to Akari again, and she smiles and forgives him. On the other side, Shiori and Jirou sit together. Shiori tells him she wants to see him the way Akari does, as her husband, and to understand him in ways even Akari doesn't. Then she admits, "You were the first person I ever kissed." When Jirou doesn't respond, she starts to leave, but he stops her. Shiori turns around, hugs him tightly, and then kisses him. Akari apologized to Minami, explaining that she hadn't realized he didn't know she liked him. Minami, feeling guilty, also apologized, but Akari reassured him, saying, "You don't need to apologize. Every tear you didn't notice of mine was like a precious gem to me." As they talked, Akari rested her head on Minami's shoulder and eventually fell asleep there. The next day at the temple, Akari prayed for Jirou instead of Minami, signaling her true feelings. Meanwhile, Shiori spent the night thinking about the kiss from before and realized that Akari also liked Jirou. She was confused why Jirou hadn't mentioned anything to her. Soon after, Shiori comes out again, asking Jirou to go with her to the balcony. The sky is lit with a double rainbow, and she takes out her phone to take a selfie with him. Before that, she shows him pictures from their recent trip. Jirou, distracted by the memories with Akari, almost forgets to respond to Shiori. He wonders why he's hesitating while talking to her. Then his phone buzzes with several messages, all from Akari, inviting him on a date. Jirou is confused. "Our vacation is ongoing, and we're not even officially a couple. Why is she asking me to meet now?" Despite the confusion, he arrives at the station 10 minutes early. 15 minutes pass, and Akari is still not there. Rose suspects Akari is playing a prank. Finally, Akari arrives, apologizing for being late. She explains she had to pick out a special dress for the day. They go to a cafe and start talking normally. They even share a chocolate shake, which makes Jirou both suspicious and happy. He notices Akari's softer side, even as she shows affection to a cat nearby. Seeing this, he realizes he's witnessing a side of Akari few get to see, and it fills him with joy. After their cafe date, they head back to the station. On the way, Akari remembers she forgot to go to the temple that day. She rushes in that direction, playfully challenging Shiori to a race to the temple. Surprisingly, both of them arrive together. Jirou catches up, and all three reach the temple, where they make their wishes, each silently hoping for their heart's desires. And with that, the anime ends, leaving fans eagerly waiting for the next